again, I want to see these kind of like look to play around his lane states, because that's where LGD Shadow has shown when we were looking at him over on Mad Lions.
That's right. Over Xiye, right? Get that mid 2v2. That's what we're, you know, kind of questioning whether we're going to see it or not. With the Rumble, level 6 is always that level that we talk about him having the most influence. But the Ezreal alongside him as well. 2 strong meta picks for LGD. While on the side of Rare Adam, Dagda, bottom lane cementing here. What's next?
Yeah, well, the Karma would be an interesting one, because I think when you've got an Ezreal there, Karma becomes very easy to just slot in for Hong, because even if you do end up going for this heavy engage support, it's really difficult to try and lock down, or at least kill the Karma because of the build path that Ezreal tends to take. Now, it's a little bit nicer, of course, with the Divine Sunder, but still you do need a bit of ramp up time, so it's not exactly the easiest of plays to make.
But dude, this is the second game in a row we're seeing Diana tonight. I better put her on the top of my list, because it feels like in the LPL bubble, people are saying this champion's good, as you were saying at the start of broadcast as well, Dagda. So alongside the Kaisa, there's a lot of burst damage there. There's a lot of follow-up CC and a lot of ability to ambush prey from Rare Adam.
I am curious as to what the plan here is from LGD though, because we're already seeing, look, with this Jayce now locked in, you've got a hell of a lot of poke, and if you're on Ore and you've got this Diana, you've got Lee Sin, who really are champions that need to close that gap, it could be a case of that we end up seeing Ore try and flex FoFo with the Lee Sin mid, and then maybe we end up seeing Cube going back towards something like the Gangplank, like something that can at least try and slow down LGD being able to kite out the Ore composition and give them the opportunity to fight, because right now you either need Cube onto something like that, or honestly something like the Ornn, which is just a case of, right, we have this big go button to actually get onto LGD.
Because I think you raise a really valuable point there, right? We have so much poke out of LGD. They can play the range in this game, number one, and we always want to see how teams like Rare Adam can close the gap further. Of course, Kaisa, Diana, Lee Sin can do that, but the range is still more massive than that. Bans coming across Dagda, double ban towards Hung in the bottom lane. Nautilus, Rakan, some of his favorites from 2020 and 2021. Rare Adam banning away the Karma that can really facilitate this comp and give maybe a more passive lane to something in the mid lane.
Yeah, and this kind of just fits perfectly, right, with the bans that LGD are doing. They're like, hey, what is the guaranteed engage supports? Nautilus, because he presses or and he goes in. Rakan, because he presses or and jumps onto your face. So, right now, LGD are like, right, let's move these off the board. And for Ore, they're going, as you said, Karma, get that away. I was actually curious to see if we might get like something like a Lulu banned away here as well, because again, we could actually have the Lulu going down into that bottom side, can make it very hard to try and close the gap, or if you do, you got some decent disengage, although doesn't really fit with Mark's style, which Leona definitely does.
Oh yeah, we remember this on the world stage, right, when he roamed.
Oh yeah, and just to bear in mind though, we have been seeing some Ezreal flex. I think we actually saw it in LCK today with Ezreal going to the mid lane, so I'm still holding off in a second to see what if that Ezreal is going to go mid, but I assume at this stage it is going to go with the AD carry, and with Mark doing that heavy roaming style that you just mentioned, Hysterics.
Yeah, that's right. Leave Kramer in the bottom lane. Dagda, you're the one who so nicely put that in the bubble that, well, Kramer is, going to be the bubble, and Mark's going to start moving around the map, as we saw in the World Championship, as we saw from this LGD squad that had Peanut, that had Lungshing up there. On the other side, though, Rare Adam, part of the engage. This is situational, but with the Alistar, with the Gnar, this does feel like a nicely rounded out team comp.
Yeah, I did see them hover the Gangplank, though. I would prefer the GP here. Just the biggest problem that I'm seeing with the Gnar is, again, opting into that short range, right? So suddenly this Ore composition becomes heavily flash reliant. Like, either Leyan getting some sort of flash ult from Cube, the flash engage coming through from Hung, and with no Hex flash again, it means that you're getting less opportunities to try and make this play happen. Whereas when you look over at LGD, now you've got like a bunch of poke from Kramer, from the Rumble as well. He can toss out that Equalizer ultimate. You can look towards the Jayce poke as well. Mark, and it looks like Xiye now with the Sylas, going to be playing kind of a disengage, or well, not disengage, but at least providing that bruiser front line. So if Ore ever managed to get on top of them, Xiye has access to pushing back Ore with this Gnar ultimate, kicking people away with FoFo, and hell, even stealing away Leyan's ult to cause an absolute disaster for Ore.
Yeah, that's right. You know, keep the space between them, and I like how he's kicking away with the ultimate, right? If Moonfall doesn't connect, if you don't get the Dragon's Rage, there's a lot of tools that fall down, and those flashes you also mentioned, key tools that for Rare Adam are going to have to be monitored as we go into this game. Ladies and gentlemen, Rare Atom already beat down OMG in a 2-0 series that didn't last past the hour. LGD, it's their first game here. First game with Shadow, who's joining the jungle roster and joining the LPL for the first time. I think more importantly, seeing how Shadow works with Xiye and the rest of LGD is going to be our biggest question as they jump onto the Rift.
So I think here for Ore, their biggest plan is to try and like power through the strong lanes that they have early, right? You've got the Gnar in the top lane, you've got Lee Sin in this mid lane who's going to be able to bully out the Sylas, and even in the bot lane you're going to have a decent amount of push with the Kaisa against the Ezreal. So if I'm looking towards Ore, I'm needing to power through these strong lanes to make sure that we enter the mid game where we have control of the objectives and we can force LGD to try and face check us and then look to use that as our gap closer.
It'll be fun to watch at the very least. See how Leyan and FoFo go with that. Welcome to Summoner's Rift in Hangzhou. We've got the LGD crowd behind them, I'm sure, as Rare Atom look to continue their starting momentum after beating OMG. And Hangzhou, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering where it is, not too far from Shanghai, a little bit north. Another fantastic city that's pretty close together. Well, as we're onto the Rift, Dagda, I see nothing too different, but I do see a conqueror Sylas in a lane that I think a lot of the time we've seen people take fleet footwork because of how severely dangerous the Lee Sin can be.
Yeah, it's the fleet footwork does very, very well against picks that are, you know, the range component, right? Because you're going to get poked a lot. You want to be able to max the Q for the chain lash, and then you're able to trade effectively using that while having the fleet footwork to still keep your health topped up. In this kind of melee matchup, I don't mind the Conqueror too much because you can still match the max the Kingslayer and then be able to use that as your, you know, sustained trade with FoFo. Because that's the biggest thing when you play against a Lee Sin like this. There's two things you gotta watch out for. The E-Max is gonna be able to shove in your lane super effectively, but also the amount of sustain that comes out from the Safeguard and the Iron Will. He's gonna be able to just auto minion so effectively, heal back up any sort of trade. So Xiye obviously opting here to go for that W max so he can not be just shoved out of lane like this by FoFo.
Does start with Abscond Abduct. Remember, two things of the Precipice burst as well. So gets the Kingslayer, which means he hit level 2 first. Tempest Cripple comes out, but FoFo doesn't connect. So we'll watch the trading in this mid lane a little bit closer. I think jungle matchup's going to be really interesting here, Dagda. We have the Rumble versus the Diana. And for Shadow, his debut game in the LPL, he'll be pathing up towards the top side, maybe looking to influence Garvey's lane. And I saw Cube was pretty much evening it out, so we'll see how lane management goes to give an edge for Shadow to make an appearance.
Historically, though, this is where games like this is where Shadow has struggled, where he doesn't really have a huge amount of control from his lanes. He has the ability to be invaded on pretty regularly, and there is the opportunity for Leyan when he does hit 6 to try and go for that, but certainly in these early stages, the Diana and Rumble combo just means that Rumble is so much stronger in the early stages. You're not really going to be able to bully out as Leyan here and try and go for these aggressive invades and capitalize on your lane states.
Instead, he's going mid. We asked about the mid 2v2. FoFo doesn't have enough energy, but Hung has roamed up. Another support that we know loves making early momentum in the league. Hung shadowing that, and Shadow's not going to overcommit. So meanwhile, Leyan just does a Scuttle Crab. He's level 4. He's cleared more of his camps. Tempo lead for RA due to this support moving.
Yeah, but you can see there that they're trying desperately to heavy focus on Leyan. They know that the danger zone for Leyan is if he falls behind early, Diana just essentially becomes useless. So even investing Hung here to make sure that he can get at least one Scuttle Crab for himself, and that there's going to be no early shenanigans despite the fact that FoFo wasn't able to crash the wave.
I like that Mark's moving with Shadow here as well. Again, something we saw when he was alongside Peanut. The level 2 drops a ward while Leyan is spotted out. Garvey over the wall. Crescent Strike was already used, I believe, as iBoy getting ganked on. Here comes the ward, but okay, never mind. It just walks back and that's that.
It's like a dog that's got caught staring at your food, you know? They walk into lane, iBoy spots them, it's like, no, we were never going to do anything. No, we're just walking back out of here. This is totally fine. But it does mean here, look, Shadow will get that bot side scuttle. He's going to get the reset and be able to head towards his bottom side here, just getting to his camps as they start to reset. You're going to see the same come through from the end. So early stages, neither jungler really getting overly involved, which means that at least from the perspective of Ore, you know, you can see the lane matchups going the way, well, at least for the mid lane that they should, but for Cube, This is actually a matchup that Jayce can do quite a lot with.
He can.
He has the range advantage, should be able to trade relatively effectively, but Garvey actually sitting, 10 CS down is not exactly what I expected.
No, it's not great. I mean, you're right. The matchup for the Jayce has often been good. As Leyan looking to influence bottom instead. The flash is there from Hung. He gets the pulverize onto Kramer. Trample, going to be there on top of Mark as a Crescent Strike connects in the backline. But Leyan is so deep. Shadow has come on in. The Harpoon doesn't connect. It's all teleports, gun blazing. And LGD getting first blood. Garvey in the middle of it, but he gets the auto onto Leyan. LGD pressed their buttons faster, and that was just beautiful to watch.
Amazing from LGD to get down towards that bottom side, shut down the play from Xiye, but I mean, trying to over-aggress so heavily on towards an Ezreal, Kramer was always going to be safe. It's been the staple of why Ezreal is so good in a lane like this, is that you can just arcane shift away, he's fine, and Xiye overextend on the play.
I love they go so deep there. Leyan without his flash, Hung going down in the end there as well. Dagda, it's 700 gold lead in the early game for LGD. And Xiye picked up the kill alongside Garvey. The lane that was losing out on the top side or had a CS discrepancy doesn't matter anymore. Serrated Dirk there, and I think now we're going to see the Jayce lane move a bit more in the obvious momentum that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and especially though, when you look at this wave, Cube going to be able to pick that up. The CS will go back to being in favor of Cube, but this engage from Hung, like, you have the arcane shift, you have the flash. I think your best bet there is to actually just headbutt the Ezreal underneath the tower. That way, at least then, when he arcane shifts, he's only coming back onto you with the potential for you to stun him off the E from the Alistar. But you can see there, LGD, they managed to worm their way out of it, and with the double TP, they pick up those 2 kills. So Xiye now already a step behind the play, and when they're kind of waiting for like Leyan to come online, I'm curious to see if Shadow can try and double down on the plays that's now happened bot, and see if he can pick up a little bit more.
And it'll be towards that level 6, right? If we're doubling down, burning some of the summoners, or rather taking advantage of them, then we expect the equalizer. We expect Hung to be kind of the target. As he has no flash, he's still not going to have the ultimate at the time. We'll just have to watch, because Shadow is at the top side right now. Leyan is the one towards the bottom lane. Dragon's being taken down, but stopped. What actually happened in the mid lane? Bottom right? Not sure. Abscond Duck was there. I don't know if Xiye wanted to go back in. He had to flash away. Wow, and did Lee Sin die in the end? That's the question. No, he didn't. So FoFo survived. But yeah, Dagda, that was shenanigans mid.
Yeah, very close to FoFo going down. Dragon, though, does go down in favor of Xiye, able to work off the fact that you have to push there for Xiye. So now you can try and go for Shadow and go, right, I've got a couple of lanes that I can look to try and play towards. You got Xiye in that mid lane, and even if it's a case of, like, you don't get the kill onto FoFo, hitting this level 6 for Shadow and creating opportunities for Xiye to roam can net you so damn much. And with the Unbreakable available to steal away for Xiye here, he can even be the one to start off dives on this bottom side, or you go up towards top side, and the ability to steal away Cube's Gnar ultimate can set up some wonderful dives there as well. So curious to see if LGD will try and get some sort of wiggle room here for Xiye.
We'll see. He's got that Kindle gem, so he's already got the cooldown reduction as the kick for kick. FoFo just trying to survive. He knew he was dead. It was either into the fire or into the harpoon, and he chose the harpoon.
I don't know which is the nicer way to go, but neither sound too pleasant. As LGD now just make that play mid. Now they can move up towards Rift Tower as well. 8 minutes has hit, which means that spawn now. Still not fully convinced that they want to go for it, looks like here, but you can still see at least getting Xiye ahead, playing through this mid jungle 2v2. This is what we wanted to see from LGD.
And it's just like it's all come together so far. Bottom lane play included for LGD, but I think we've seen a couple of times his focus towards Xiye, Shadow with 100% kill participation in his debut game, and LGD about 1,400 gold up. 8 minutes in, all RA have is that dragon, but as we look back here, we'll see how this started.
Yeah, you can see FoFo not taking the best of trades and kick for kick there, but FoFo's doomed with. And honestly, like, I love seeing Xiye on these Sylas picks where he's able to get away with it, because there's a couple of people that really stand out for Sylas players, right? Like Xiye being one of them, Knight being another, but we've seen insane plays from Xiye. Like, if anyone hasn't, go back and watch the Xiye performance on Sylas from against WE in playoffs, where he has this insane play at Baron that completely turns around the game and wins the game for LGD. Like, there's so many times we've seen immaculate performances from him. So when Xiye already is on a champion he's so good at, and he's getting these early leads, I'm expecting big things from the LGD mid laner. Unfortunately though, with no control over this mid lane, RA will be the one that are moving over towards this Rift Herald.
So second objective picked up here for RA. The Herald means that they're going to have a lane to push that through while plating is still very well and truly up. Dagda, I want us to progress with how we're going to be looking at this game. First of all, you were dead right. Kramer by himself constantly. Mark is now level 6 though and has continued roaming around. But Kramer's just picking up CS, looking to go towards that Divine Sunder as expected. Mid still farming away with even CS on the board. Cube still has a 10 CS lead up in that top lane, but the kill makes it so it's not too even. And jungle with a 10 CS lead in Leyan, who's been farming, while Shadow has been looking towards mid, looking for those counter ganks as well. So it does feel like this game is still neck and neck, despite the early trading and the 1k gold lead. It's not all over for Rare Adam.
Yeah, I think this jungle matchup though is now going to look a little bit more even. Leyan has that level 6, well, level 8 now available, but has that ultimate, which is the big thing. Should be able to have a better impact when he goes towards lanes, provide a bit more CC. The big thing for me though is like, where does he want to put his attention? Because right now we're seeing LGD double down on mid once again. Shadow and Mark working really well together here to get deep vision, making sure that Xiye has a lot of information about how far forward he can play. But Leyan hasn't really been able to do the same here. It feels like the entire mid-jungle 2v2 of RA has been shut down, and it means that when we look towards RA's plans, they haven't been able to operate as well as they would like. Now, Cube, though, he's having an absolute field day against Garvey here in the top lane. Almost 3 turret plates gone for himself as well, and with Leyan having this Rift Herald, they're just going to plonk it down.
And I like this because Cube's already ahead in the matchup. Leyan hitting that top side, as we saw TT trying to abuse the top side in JDG last game with said Diana as well. That means first turret blood should go up in that top lane, and does. Over to Rare Adam. Response here from LGD is Abscond Abduct on top of Hung. Equalizer doesn't really hit the mark. And LGD, they're not going to get too much out of the bottom of this play, while Rare Adam should get a charge here, and Leyan should be able to take away the topside jungle.
Yeah, the fact that they went into Hung there makes it a bit unfortunate. I thought they might have just tried to, zone the bottom lane of RA away from the turret and go for it. Ooh,
wow.
Hang on.
Cube, even under turret, forces the flash out of Garvey. Ult was already burnt as well, so Garvey has to pay that respect, and Leyan still here means that Garvey has to be so careful where he steps.
Now, it does mean RA will be slightly late for the Dragon if LGD decide to start up immediately, but with Kramer backing, looks like they're not really in a position to go for this. So, again, it looks like RA, they get the play topside, they will be in a faster reset timing as well to go for this Dragon, and objectives in early game going the way of RA, although when we look at those kills, LGD are still the ones that are in top.
But let's talk about what happens when these turrets go down, Dagda, because when you have Gnar, when you have Lee Sin, we look at the team fighting tools that if Rare Adam get on top of you, it feels like it's over, right? We talked also in the draft how LGD, their comp has great amount of poke, they have great amount of pressure with these ultimates that can create distance and stop Rare Adam from gap closing. So talk me a little bit through what happens now towards this second Dragon, towards a potential fight.
So the big thing that we talked about was, RA trying to get onto these objectives first. So then you're forcing LGD to roam into you. But you can see here, like, if LGD have control, they can look to use that poke from Kramer, who's just finished that Divine Sunder, Garvey as well.
And Hung's walked into it, uses the Unbreakable Will, the Zenith Blade doesn't connect, Leyan flashes over the wall as Xiye joins in. Great timing, Dagda, you're right. No control, no worries if you're LGD, because you'll take the objective instead.
Yeah, and there's so much that you've got to worry about here if you are trying to face check LGD. Like, a stun from Mark, if it lands, is going to follow up with like a lot of that damage coming through from Kramer, the Rumble lulls. I mean, even Garvey as well, as we start to get to 2-3 items where Jayce really comes online. So for RA, I wanted to see them power through the strength that they had through Cube in this top lane, like go for this quick reset that we were talking about and get onto the objective first, but because they'd invested so much into Cube topside, they ended up having to gift the Dragon. But now, with Cube having control, he can start to be the one to move. He can start to play towards mid, and when the vision and towers start to go pushed further and further onto the LGD side, that's when LGD are going to struggle.
That's right. Control the vision, and as you said in pick and ban, LGD having to walk into brushes like this. Not good. Garvey does exactly that, and he's going to get bursted down. Leyan low, though. Gnar against the wall as Cube is still surviving. Leyan will drop down. Cube finally flashes away, but Xiye wants to abscond to duck the hell out of this one. He'll get the Kingslayer, rip it deep with the Chain Lash, and Shadow, he wanted the kill badly. He wants a good first LPL game as he picks up 100% kill participation and his second kill.
Yeah, it felt like that was a bit of a strange fight from Xiye. Cube and Leyan hard committed, but FoFo was saying it's a no-go, and he stays in mid the entire time. It means that then Cube and Leyan end up in essentially a 3v2, so they both go down, and even though you got the kill back for Garvey, back onto Garvey, that's still more gold going in favor of LGD. And when they had so much control and they're playing towards the strong side of the map, which is Cube, they should never be losing these. Like you can see here, look at where Xiye is versus where FoFo is. Like FoFo doesn't move the entire time. Even when we see that you get Xiye moving across here, FoFo still shows in that wave. So Cube is completely alone here in the 1v2, and by the time FoFo shows up, it's already too little too late.
I love the old on top, you know. You ever had a salad where you thought, oh man, I'd like more salt on this, and you dump a whole lot of it. You go, oh, that wasn't necessary, was it? But now there's a lot of salt in the salad. Probably not the best analogy. I'll try again later in the game. Folks, we're approaching 15 minutes in the game. Tower plating has been down. It's 1,000 gold lead here for Rare Atom with the Dragon apiece. But
TP bot.
Cloud Dragon coming through. You're right, the TP's there. iBoy's already forced out the arcane shift from Kramer, who now heals. He has Flash. Sonic Wave connects after the Dragon's Rage. Kramer's down, and he's burnt all of his summoners to do so. Teleport was cancelled as there's a fight in the mid lane. It's 3 versus 3, and Garvey has the range here. Crescent Strike once again as the Moonfall available for Leyan, but he's exhausted. Set packing by Garvey as Mark re-engages. Shadow's ulti, not bad, but not great, as back into the fight of it. Leyan assassinates Mark, but LGD will take him down once more. It's a busy, busy day for these teams, and a bloodbath to follow.
Yeah, Xiye get the play on towards bot side, but it means they're late to that mid play. But I'm surprised to see Xiye again commit so many members to the mid lane. You've got your win on that bottom side. Be happy with it. You stopped the TP. You were out. Just back off at that stage. But Xiye trying to fight off a little bit more they can chew. Also, the exhaust from Mark was on point. It meant that big ultimate coming through from Leyan really didn't do very much. We're going to see it here. So I like that Hung goes in here, prevents the TP, and then he's able to pop the ult. Now, in this position, you either fully commit and Leyan just goes, right, I'm going to pop this ult as soon as that goes in. We can get the kill onto Mark. But there you can see, the second Leyan goes in, exhaust drops. Mark isn't able to go down. Garvey is still left relatively healthy, and they can actually finish off these low health members.
I also love at the end of that play as well, we saw Mark really just fully committing and spacing himself out and making sure that it wasn't a 3-man Moonfall in the end. But you're right, Dagda, not the full commit there from Leyan, not the full commit from Rare Atom, and LGD finding another play. Gold still in favor of Rare Atom as they're getting resources across the map, but with this turret going down, feels like Gold is going to soldier up a little bit there. Just have a quick look across with me. You can see first items building up for both of these teams. And after that play, I'm excited for more action, as so is Shadow. Doesn't hit the ulti, but iBoy Gale forces away from the Solar Flare. And that's 2 ultis for pretty much nothing from Rare Atom.
Yeah, a lot used there. And honestly, the equalizer not really hitting the Mark was the big one. If you get that slow, potential there for Mark to have an easier time with the Solar Flare. But now you can see Xiye, with those 2 ultimates down, no, they're in control. They can now push in for this mid lane turret.
And on top of that, Dragons in 20 seconds. I mean, that is a huge clumsy mistake from LGD. They'll get the Herald, but it's already taken down the mid lane turret. Space is created in the map. And as Xiye walks around, gets the Scuttle Crab, or at least gets some of the lettuce. I think Scuttle Crab was taken before. Rare Atom have control of the river.
Again, though, this is great for Rare Atom. The fact that they have control means that someone on LGD has to face check. And when you've got Hung, you've got Leyan, no exhaust as well onto Mark, this becomes incredibly dangerous. Now, with the way Xiye is spread out, though, they're not really stopping LGD from getting into the river. And now you can actually get a heap of the poke coming through from Garvey and from Kramer.
And iBoy and FoFo are not here. I mean, they went to go attest a mid lane wave. Garvey over the wall with the poke. Look at him for the backline. He hits as well as Dragon resets. 5 versus 5 in the river. Cube about to go Mega Gnar, so LGD pay the respect as the equalizer zones away. Leyan picks up the dragon though, but LGD fighting on two fronts as the tongue absorbing. Mark dying as well. Xiye on the back line onto iBoy. He doesn't even just spin for it. A good Gnar against the wall as 3v3. That's all that's left here. Rare Adam into the back line. FoFo gets deleted though as Kramer, Xiye and Garvey now chasing up. A double kill for Kramer, an absconded duck for Xiye, and Leyan spinning with the moon. But you know what? The moon's not going to help you out in this situation against the guy with a massive hammer. Knocked back, slowed down, blown up. Leyan, the poke, one more time. Everfrost not needed. Garvey cleans it up.
And LGD find the fight at Dragon. RA had the opportunity to control the space, stop LGD from getting in. But when LGD can poke and prod and make sure that RA are feeling the brunt of their damage, they can turn that around with phenomenal performance from Xiye in that fight.
He was huge, dude. The Zonya's coming through as well. 4-0-4 from the mid laner. And Shadow's ulti to zone out the back line. I mean, this LGD roster are really taking these fights into their stride.
And you can see the equalizer there from Shadow. It puts iBoy at half health before this fight even kicks off. Exhaust there again from Mark, crucial to shut down iBoy. And at this stage, there you go. iBoy's out of the fight. The main damage source is gone. Leyan, yes, you can provide some burst with FoFo, but it's not going to be enough as FoFo goes in and RA are running for the hills at that stage. So really strong performance there from LGD going, hey, look, let's get this poke down. And whenever RA tried to engage with these quick burst styles and short range composition, we have exhaust availables, we have the turnaround play, and LGD pick up the fight.
I love, Dagda, you mentioned, what was it, 10 minutes ago? Xiye on Sylas. Oh, had a really good game. Like, it's one of his good picks that I thought, yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, we get that play where he was instrumental as that equalizer starts up the teleport. Solar Flare, LGD don't care about these ulti cooldowns. They want to pull the trigger. Now, granted, Dagda, Shadow's ulti is on a pretty low cooldown. Solar Flare not the same, but maybe it's not enough to push LGD to breaking down this mid turret.
There is a part of me, though, that kind of hopes that when we get to team fights, we see the reverse of what we're seeing right now, where it's Shadow constantly tossing out the equalizer, then we're getting the solar flare from Mark. Although you do get the slow, and it can work in certain situations, I still would prefer to see the solar flare hit, then you get the equalizer laid down on top of it, because it feels like right now, you're getting too much time for like the likes of the mobility on RA to get away from the solar flare and get away from the equalizer, because, you know, iBoy's got the speed up, he's got that Gale Force, Lee Sin is a Lee Sin, you got Gnar who has that hop as well. There's a lot there that you've got to try and deal with, so I think we need to see the CC first to let that damage really soak in over time.
Yeah, we do. I mean, that would be the perfect combo run. That's what we want to see. Moving forward, Dagda's second item coming out pretty much everyone here across the board. I will say that the big ones are the collector for the side of iBoy, because I know we haven't talked much about Rare Adam, but they're still pretty much even in gold. Despite the fights going LGD's way, Rare Adam are still even in gold. iBoy is still a menace at 2.5 items strong. This Diana from Leyan is getting towards either a Zonya's or the Banshee's Veil. And FoFo, he's got an item and a half himself as he's chasing after Xiye.
Yeah, the big thing here, though, is again, like, who controls the map? Because it feels like LGD now, at least if they play this correctly, can start to, you know, get vision control, not give RA the opportunity to push in and, you know, go for these fights that they're really looking for. Now, as I say that, RA are actually doing quite a good job of controlling vision around this Baron, but the big one is going to be that dragon that's in a minute. If RA can try and move that vision control down towards the bottom side, get there before LGD get these resets, they're going to be in good shape. But you got to be careful as iBoy, who hasn't reset, and there's a lot of members of LGD that's cropping around this mid lane.
Garvey adding the pressure on the bottom side while that's happening as well. That's just giving vision towards Baron. Up in the top side, FoFo is a split push menace, 194 CS. And apart from iBoy, or at least the other AD carry, is sitting up there with Cube CS right now. I just noticed that as I was talking about that, Dagda. 230 CS for iBoy. He's just farming this game. Kramer doing the same fare because he's an Ezreal, but we do have a lot of gold on these core ADs that in this fight you wanted to see in 20 minutes time, we're going to have to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, you can see, though, LGD running away from this fight. Garvey has to go and deal with that top side So now he's arrived. This is where LGD can now start to take a little bit more control, try and look for the poke, and see if they can push Ore back. Cube not having Mega Gnar is huge, because he would love to have that follow-up with the flash engage that could potentially come through from Hung here, who honestly is actually looking a bit low himself.
FoFo on a flank, spotted out on a control ward. You mentioned that there's no Mega Gnar there, but Cube's bought enough time as Solar Flare comes in onto Leyan, slows him down, the equalizer down as well. Hung with his flank will sacrifice his life, but the rest of Rare Adam don't want to go in. Bit of miscommunication there, deciding what to do as Leyan looking for the steal, but he won't get it. 2 dragons apiece here in game number 1, and LGD get a pick, get the objective, and catch up in gold again.
Yeah, and now LGD are in, hang on, reasonably good spot. What I want to see them do, though, is we keep seeing Garvey being the man who's going to go and deal with these side lanes. I actually would prefer that to be Xiye right now, because Xiye has the TP, obviously, but also Garvey's pretty crucial to the start of these fights, right? You can see there, LGD don't want to approach these fights until they've got Garvey to look for the poke alongside this Ezreal. So if you've got Garvey off the side lane, the return you get on your composition is far lower. So I really want to see Xiye now kind of taking over this side lane role, because Xiye can always TP in later when you've already got a lot of that burst damage down.
That's true, and his flanking angles are what made it in the last fight. His flanking angles are huge. I think Rare Adam have timed this nicely. Dagda, they caught away 2 people backing of LGD with their deep vision. So Rare Adam are trying to force the Baron.
A lot of damage coming down, though. Mark, Solar Flare.
Oh, Xiye stole the Gnar ulti, and into the wall they go. Kramer starts battling away. It's a good kick from FoFo to disengage, but Shadow as well with the follow-up. Xiye there seems to be the star of this show. iBoy with a great ulti to disengage. But man, Xiye is on fire this game.
Xiye on Sylas, man. He looks so damn good, but LGD, they just caught Ore with their pants down. Ore tried to make the play off the reset, but again, like, if you're a sitting duck here, you can look at the damage that comes off of Garvey. Then Xiye being able to steal away those big ultimates that we talked about, it's never going to end well. And LGD now with Baron and with firm control of this game.
iBoy looking for that cheeky stop to the recall, see if he gets any of the scraps of people remaining, but that's a no-go. Dagda, 6-0-5. He now has himself his 3rd item, and when you have that Cosmic Insight, Dagda, why am I forgetting this item? What's wrong with me? I play Sylas.
Cosmic Drive.
Thank you so much, yeah. Cosmic Insight. It's definitely not a rune. Cosmic Insight, you now have so much momentum in this fight.
It is definitely ruining Ore, so I can understand why you're getting confused, but mid lane plays.
Solar Flare again. Mark and Shadow are just using them off the cooldown, and Hung is going to be the victim. He'll burn down, he'll tick down over to Kramer, who's 4-1-4, doing well himself. He's got his 3-item build that all Ezreal fans love at the moment. He's free-low, folks. Munchable said it on broadcast. Listen to him. That Frozen Heart is going to do so much work as well, especially to iBoy. And LGD are starting to cave in and destroy this game.
Yeah, Divine Sunder is looking pretty strong in this patch. I'm just going to put it out there. Yeah. Mark, though, sitting off the wing here, has Shadow in tow as well, so you're going to see what they can do as Leyan takes a brunt of damage coming through from this Ezreal.
Oh my god, I mean, look at him as Garvey always getting soloed by iBoy runs in. Well, iBoy solo bolo in the top lane while LGD, their responses with the equalizer in the back line. FoFo kicks Kramer, but it doesn't matter. Ulti after ulti, Xiye after Xiye, who keeps on diving. His absconded duck works out as well. He's got his Zonjas to buy some time, but LGD don't care. They're winning each and every fight, even if iBoy solos in the top lane.
I mean, the split push AD carry is the strongest question mark, because right now he has no TP, he has no way of getting back to this play, and he's not even pushing in the top lane turret. He's just going to lose the entire base when he takes a jungle cap.
To be fair, not on vision, so I guess they're going to play it safe from LGD. iBoy knows this while the top wave is pushing in. Still going to back away, but the Baron is a success from LGD. They've pushed in the inhibitor. It's a 3.8k gold lead for LGD, and Dagdason. This is a very good look for a team that we were super skeptical about. Let's have a look again.
Yeah, I feel like, as you're saying, iBoy just about managed to hit the Void Missile. And it means, look, at this stage, between Gale Force and also having the Collector, like, you just don't stand a chance as Garvey. But here we go, that mid lane play as well. This was, like, you're trying desperately for the engage. Good arcane shift away from Kramer. And from this point, you've overextended. Xiye is on the flank. Hung is in base as well. You've got nothing to do, but I don't know if this is over. There's the solar flare in the bottom left corner.
And that equalizer lines the pavement that Leyan has to go over, but unfortunately, he's going to get his way out thanks to a nice little jump from the E. LGD, they've used an ulti for that. They've used shadows. And Mark again, Dagda, has used his off of cooldown. They're like brothers. Every time one of them ultis, the other has to follow.
I wouldn't mind if Mark was hitting the ultimates. Like, this is one of the... I know he's winning, and I don't want to criticize the dude too much. But this is one of the big things with Mark, is that every so often, he just whiffs everything.
He does. I mean, at least the attempts are made, right? You know, you wouldn't know if it was a mistake.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Something like that, right? Shadow, meanwhile, just going to be doing this Dragon Dagda. My lord, that was hard. So they'll go to Soul Point. 29.5 minutes in, though. LGD using the poke, part of the sieging tool for sure, to try and push in.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is kind of unstoppable now for LGD. The ability for them to try and poke and siege is so damn hard for ORA to deal with. The only way that they're really going to have some amazing fight is if Hung, by some miracle, manages to get an amazing position here, which he's looking for right now, but there's wards everywhere.
It's like a minefield. It flies out from left, right, and center. You step the wrong way and you're dead. Hung with his flank, though. Shadow flashing away immediately. This is a choke, but the equalizer means if RA go into this, they're gonna die. FoFo chooses death over glory. Cube hits only one into the wall. That's Mark. As the Zenith Blade, the Absconder duck. Xiye leading the charge. Shadow's first LPL game, and he's burning them to a crisp. LGD are going to run it right on home as iBoy has one last hurrah, but one last hurrah is all it is.
Yeah, he's got to get one more knife in before the game ends, but at the 30-minute mark, LGD will take down ORA.
And they look good doing it, Dagda. This was a game, a statement by LGD, 21-7, and game one to introduce Shadow into the LPL.
And we talked about, hey, look, we want to see what Shadow can do. We want to see what Xiye can do. Well, that question's been firmly answered. This mid-jungle looks so damn strong, with Xiye having an amazing performance on Sylas and being able to get incredibly active around the map. We said we like to see LGD when they're in these kind of skirmishes and they can play towards what are the strengths of Shadow. Well, this was the perfect game to exemplify what this team is capable of.
I mean, the Italian Stallion pulls it out, right? That was a really nice showing. Sure, the equalizers weren't always on point and some of them weren't that great. But the thing is, to pull the trigger, I think we've seen a lot of people come into the league, not from outside, you know, not from the LEC or the LCS, right? That's rarely happened if this only being the first time. I think more importantly, we've seen a lot of players come up from LDL or join the league and they've been trigger shy. So this is a nice start, and especially when LGD needed direction, when they lost Peanut, who kept the team together in 2020, when you lose such an influential figure, you need another one to take its place.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think the big thing here is as well, like, although Shadow may not be very big voice in the team, you can see that he's willing to work with the big voices that are on this team. Because I know, for one, Mark is an incredibly big voice. I know Xiye as well was also having quite a voice in the team back when we were looking at summer 2020. So you can see that the coordination between him and Mark are there. Now, as we said, the ultimates and that may not have hit, the abilities may not have gone the direction they wanted, but they were still putting a huge amount of pressure on towards ORA. And if Mark had been able to connect with a few more of those solar flares, this would have been an even quicker game than what we just saw.
Yeah, I mean, he missed quite a lot. But again, at least the attempt was there. I think I just love the fact that Xiye was enabled through early play from the jungler. I think it was also, you know, Garvey wasn't doing too well in his lane, so it was that quick adaptation that, well, okay, lane state's good. Let's bully out FoFo. On his Lee Sin, he didn't actually get much to say that game, which was surprising. So I think LGD had their number, and Dagda, more importantly, I think putting the eggs in the Xiye basket has worked in the past.
Sorry, excuse me. Yes, I think so as well. I think Xiye definitely is going to be a big factor for them. I think as well, looking across, I want to see a little bit more out of the ORA mid-jungle. Because we were highlighting, hey, look, FoFo and Leyan look so damn good together, but we never really got to see that come to fruition, with Leyan looking okay in the Diana, but the lack of early game pressure from the jungle, I think, really hurt ORA.
It did. And in a duo that, sure, like Leyan and FoFo aren't the creme de la creme of mid jungle, but I think FoFo's the strongest player on this roster, and it's much like JDG with Zoom, isn't it? Because when Zoom falls down, the team lacks direction. I think in a lot of those fights when FoFo wasn't too far ahead, and sure, his role is different as the Lee Sin, but FoFo not in a position of control means that RA don't have that same influence. So it was definitely very telling in that game one that it wasn't like the OMG series where FoFo had a great semblance of control in both games in that series, and Leyan alongside with him. This time around, it was all about Xiye. It was about Kramer. It was about Market Shadow, really, just dropping ults all the time. But, you know, Kramer poking from afar and LGD understanding their comp.
Yeah, but I still have hope here for RA when we go on to game 2, right? Because I feel like they've identified kind of the weak points. It's let's get Leyan onto an early game jungler where he can actually have a bit more influence, even if you want to try and take that rumble away. Also, I think Garvey's a pretty big weak point. I mean, we saw that throughout this, even in a favorable matchup, he was struggling against Cube, and Cube, although a good top laner, is nowhere near the level of our top laners in the LPL.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm them, I'm kind of going, right, well, we can have this kind of combo between FoFo, Cube, and Leyan. Let's just try and create this gaping hole in the top lane that we can play through, and potentially then look to punish that for game 2 of the series.
Yeah, because if we look towards that top side, I feel like there's a lot to be learned, a lot to be developed. You're right about Garvey, though, Dagda, for sure. Definitely feels like a weak point. But we're going to go to a break, ladies and gentlemen. When we return to